Players are just finishing shuffling up. You got Todd Stevens on your left, Max McVety on your right. Of course, McVety, a former Invitational winner. He won in Columbus last year. We got to see him at the Players' Championship, but we also got to see Todd Stevens there as well last year. He is playing Eldrazi Tron. Max, of course, playing Infect. Both these players 4-0, off to a great start here this weekend. And I'll take a look at their opening hands. Looks like Max is going to take a mulligan here.
And Stevens here with multiple main deck copies of Basilisk Caller to pair with Walking Ballista and Endbringer.
To note, Max is on the play. So we'll see what he's able to find. As round number 5 will be underway here in just a bit. Do want to thank everybody who is watching at home for joining us here this weekend at twitch.tv/SCG Tour. At SCG Tour, hashtag SCGINDY all weekend long. We'll be checking the tweets. Feel free to join in on the conversation. As you're watching Todd Stevens playing against Max McVety here in round number 5, both these players 4-0. Looks like Max is happy enough with his hand. He'll keep Scry to the bottom. And we'll see how Max wants to start things off. Looks like he does have a copy of Glistener Elf. He's going to sacrifice Verdant Catacombs. Fall down to 19, and there is Glistener Elf. Well, actually, let's probably make it 17, honestly. Yeah, get a breeding pool. So can Infect still compete? We will see as Todd Stevens will draw a card.
And there are parts of this matchup that will be challenging for Stevens. The big one here is he's only got 3 Dismembers as his resistance early on in the game, and that can be far too slow to compete with Infect. Although the addition of Walking Ballista is probably great in this matchup. That is an obnoxious card for Infect to play through.
Yes. I think it's a huge addition to the deck. Perhaps we're going to have a Noble Hierarch here from Max. We do. Pendelhaven. Going to pump up the Glistener Elf. Dismember is going to kill that. That'll take care of that turn.
And that's a huge boon there for Stevens to have one of his copies of Dismember.
It looks like he has a second copy too, and a Mind Stone to play. So this is a pretty good hand here for Todd.
Todd Stevens, of course, as we all know, always well dressed.
Of course.
And then also got the Antiquities Tron pieces.
Thank goodness.
Got the Weatherlight Mind Stone.
Yep.
Put in some effort to this.
You're appreciating this, aren't you?
Yeah, it's the little things, you know?
That Mind Stone's disgusting to me.
Do the, it's often someone, if you're deciding whether or not someone's well dressed, it's, do the socks match the rest of the outfit. You might not even see the socks, but they know.
They know. It's
and
important.
Todd knows.
Yep. His socks match.
Definitely.
I'd bet it all. His socks match.
Yeah. I like the effort there displayed.
Glistener Elf, Ink Moth Nexus, and Blighted Agent, all the plays here for Max. So he went from having 0 Infect creatures to having 3 Infect creatures over the course of 1 turn. Now, Todd Stevens has a Ghost Quarter, and he's playing a lot of copies of that card this week, and he has 4 in his main deck. So Ink Moth Nexus not going to be the end of the world for him.
Sealed Spectacular, 3 p.m. Sealed.
Yeah, and I think the hope here is, you can get out of this turn, you can use the Expedition map, get your last Tron piece, and just play way over the top. Not a whole lot of value in poking at one of the threats here, given that McVety's really redundant at this point. And you might get him to trip up here with the Dismember in hand if he tries to shove on one threat.
McVety has a Might of Old Croja and I believe a Blossoming Defense. I believe the Blossoming Defense was the draw for the turn, which is one heck of a draw step because it's going to do a nice job of counteracting the Dismember that Todd Stevens has in his hand. Now it's all about how do you set it up. That's what McVety's trying to figure out.
Well, you got to be worried about what the big plays are from Stevens next turn. And here's the issue if you're in McVety's spot. A lot of the plays that Stevens can make with an assembled Tron invalidate the board, and he has a Ghost Quarter left over to check the Nexus. So there's an argument for trying to get in what you can get in this turn, because it's not clear if the Blossoming Defense is going to be any sort of defense the next turn, depending on what Stevens does.
Ink Moth Nexus will get fired up. It's time for beatdowns. All 3 Infect creatures will come across. Max with access to 2 mana thanks to Noble Hierarch and Pendelhaven. Todd Stevens is going to start things off with a Ghost Quarter on the Ink Moth Nexus. It looks like that will resolve. So Max will search up a basic land here. Shuffle and present in just a moment. He will Pendelhaven the Glistener Elf. And one thing that a lot of people have learned over the years is picking a fight with Infect in combat, not a good idea.
It's very dangerous to do so because a lot of their pump spells play. It's invalidate your removal spell and also more damage is coming across. So usually you just take a couple licks in combat and then at the end of the turn or on your own turn, cast your removal spells. There can be exceptions to these rules if your hand's really well suited for a fight. Sometimes you pick the fight inside of combat, try to get their whole hand. Stevens is really just leaning on the Dismember here, so he's in that play pattern of, okay, well, I'll take the hit. Also, there's not a whole lot of value in using the removal spell here because you knock McVety down from 2 threats to 1, but he has a Noble Hierarch, so it's not like you're really reducing the clock in a significant way.
Stevens will draw. Picked up a copy of Matter Reshaper.
Now, Matter Reshaper changes the equation here because it makes it much more attractive to use the removal spell now, get rid of the Blighted Agent, and then you have a blocker on the table for the 1 threat that McVety has left over.
Tron online. It looks like he's going to go towards a Smasher. And if Todd taps out here for anything.
Todd, I think it's way too risky for Todd to tap out because McVety has a Blighted Agent, a Pendelhaven, and a Noble Hierarch. So all he needs is any 4 and it's lethal. You know, I think Stevens here is trying to set the trap.
He's going to smash right now.
Of try to make it attractive for McVety to go for the kill and hope that your Dismember is good enough.
Max will draw. Trying to figure out if he's clear for takeoff or not. The former Invitational champion. You're going to think a little bit about how he wants to sequence things. Again, remember, he has Might of Old Crozier in hand. Good place to start with that, of course, is in main phase 1 before you do attack. Make sure you get the old +4/+4 from that pump spell. And I can't forget about the Blossom defense, too. So looks like Max is going to start with Pendelhaven on Blighted Agent. And now here's Might of Old Crozier. +2/+2 until end of turn. If you play the spell during your main phase, however, a creature gets +4/+4 instead. Steven's going to go for a Dismember, and now we're going to see the Blossoming Defense very quickly. That'll counter that, and that's going to likely take care of this game, ladies and gentlemen. So Max McVety is going to win game number 1 here over Todd Stevens. And even though Infect has lost Gataxi and Probe, sometimes you don't need it when everything lines up just the way you need it to.
Pretty dispiriting game there for Stevens to have Tron on time and 2 copies of Dismember against a Mulligan and not have that be enough.
Yeah, the thing about that there, too, is let's talk about Infect here for a minute before we get to these sideboards. This is a deck that lost Probe, and I did not see a lot of this deck in Vancouver. I don't know how much of it you saw at Baltimore last weekend.
I do not believe, if memory serves, my teammate did not play against it once.
So this is a deck that immediately kind of fell off a cliff. And Eldrazi Tron, people were talking about that, and we saw Death Shadow's performance. So I'm thinking about coming into this weekend, okay, probably not going to be a lot of this deck out there. Look, this is still a good deck.
Definitely.
And this is still a deck that a Tron player does not want to play against.
Yeah.
So even though Todd has these nice additions, he's got Dismembers in his main deck, he's got Walking Ballistas, all that good stuff, and ways to interact, and he's got 4 copies of Walking Ballista. I still don't think this is a good matchup.
It might be a function of I suspect that the Infect deck is not good against Death Shadow itself.
Sure.
And that could push a lot of people off of playing this deck. But there's a lot of power still here, and McVety demonstrating that with a Mulligan and playing through 2 copies of Dismember that game.
Sideboard time, we're going to start with Todd Stevens. 4 Surgical Extraction, 4 Chalice of the Void, 2 Ratchet Bomb, 2 Relic of Progenitus, a Crucible of Worlds, a Pithing Needle, and a Batter Skull. Some good options here.
Yeah, I love the Ratchet Bombs and the Chalice of the Voids. Those seem just perfect for this matchup. The one copy of Pithy Needle also, I think, can come up in here.
For Max, 4 timer go to Nature's Claim, 2 Spell Sky, 2 Twisted Image, 2 Viridian Corruptor, a Dismember, a Graftricker's Cage, and a Spell Pierce.
So I think you could probably bring in, I think you want a little bit of the anti-artifact stuff, not a whole lot, and it doesn't interact with the Eldrazi creatures, of course, but you can expect, Stevens does have some artifacts, and you can anticipate him having some more to bring in. So I think you want some mixture of the Nature's Claim, Twisted Image, Viridian Corruptor type of stuff. Not all of it, but I think you want a little bit of interaction with artifacts.
Those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. Todd Stevens will be on the play. And while these players use sideboard and get ready here for the second game, let's talk about the Dallas Open weekend that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. Now, keep in mind, Baltimore, you were at, sold out, one heck of a tournament. I know a lot of people had a lot of fun at that one, and now we're here in Indy. This one's also sold out. Both tournaments with an attendance of 900 players. Dallas will have 902, and as we mentioned earlier in the show, the Dallas players do show up in droves. So if your plans to go to Dallas next weekend, we'll let you learn more about the tournament right now. We hope to see you there March 11th and the 12th for SCG Dallas Open weekend. If you can't make it, twitch.tv/SCG Tour, the place to be. Matthias Hunt, Ryan Overturf, Nick Miller, and the rest of the SCG Tour crew. We're bringing you action there. We're going to see Todd Stevens there, that's for sure. He's a Texas player. He's from the Denton area, 30 years old, with 5 open top 8s, potentially number 6 coming here this weekend. You know, I was watching a stream a little while ago, and he's been streaming this deck a ton and helping a lot of people with it. And, you know, for him, he's very anti-sweatpants.
Yep.
And he says, I care more about how I look than my comfort level, which is the direct opposite for me in most instances.
I rationalized wearing sweatpants because I cared about how I looked. Just goes to show you, style can be a weird thing, you know?
It can be. It can be. Here's a chalice for 1 for Todd Stevens.
Stevens is bringing some heaters this game. I got a good look at his hand. He has Chalice, Ratchet Bomb, and Walking Ballista.
Those are all good cards.
Those are all the heaters.
Yeah. Dismember the draw here for Max.
I mean, Natural Tron into Walking Ballista next turn is...
Is that good?
That is a lot to work through.
That's
and as we saw in the last game, the best way to beat Infect, it's not, all right, I have 1 removal spell, and I'm going to stop you. It's one here, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. They can't fight through all of it. And Walking Ballista is just, that's the card. That's the whole jam.
it's a lot to handle.
It's on table, no mana to activate, 1 at a time.
Stevens might be going towards Mind Stone here.
Yep.
Might see the map too. Well, I guess no, we won't.
Well, we might.
No, we will not. That would be bad. We're heading back Max's way here. Manifold Croja, countered. Groundswell, countered. Bunch of lands, can't counter those.
I don't know if you caught the tape of me playing against Chalice the Void last week.
I did. Kept casting them.
You got to keep trying.
Did you get any through?
No. My opponent was on that. He was on it. Trust me, it wasn't for lack of effort. And I tried, you know. The thing that I messed up was I should have, like, initiated with a spell, like a 2 casting cost spell, and when he countered it, in response, should have tried to bolt it. I never did the in response to your spell on the stack.
That's your own fault.
I was initiating too much on empty boards.
Yeah.
We'll see how McVety wants to handle it.
I do love the sub game.
Oh yeah. How am I going to try to get this Lava Spite to resolve through my opponent's Chalice?
Pendelhaven going to try to pump up the jam here on Inkmoth Nexus. That'll work just fine. 3 Infect here for Todd Stevens. I got 2 spells through Chalice at Grand Prix Vancouver.
That's good.
Yeah. It's a proud moment for me.
Yep.
Here's Walking Ballista. 1 counter on the very powerful artifact. Passing of the turn. Interesting that he'll pass here with Walking Ballista when Pendelhaven could be there.
I still am a fan of playing this a little bit passively.
Dismember strategy. Gonna go after the. I want to kill that. Yeah. You can keep the Noble Hierarch.
I mean, that's one of the better ways to beat Infect is just run them out of threats. Now Stevens has gotten rid of one. I believe he has a Dismember in his hand, so he can fight over the Nexus next turn if McVety makes an attack. And then, a lot of McVety's hand might be shut off from the Chalice of the Void. That's a path to win this game very easily, potentially.
Yep. 2 mana. What do we have here? Sylvan Scrying strategy. All right.
Okay.
I don't see this one a ton.
1 in the list.
Yeah, another Ink Moth.
I mean, that's a very nice card for McVety to have right now because, if he loses this game, it's likely to be he just ran out of threats, and Stevens just won with his leftovers. So any threat card is really valuable right now.
All right, pump up the jam here. Dismember there. See you later, Ink Moth Nexus. Stevens will fall down to 16. Go ahead.
I think I would have preferred for Stevens to allow McVety to go to combat there in case of Apostle's Blessing was in his hand.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
A minor thing, and McVety didn't have it, so who cares? But
here's a Thought-Knot Seer. Take a look at the hand. Bunch of spells can't play. Might of Old Corrosion, Groundswell, along with 2 lands. So Todd Stevens will get to select one of these. See you later, Groundswell.
Become Immense, still lethal.
Yeah, isn't it always?
Here it comes. No, I think that was a 1-mana spell.
I think that was one. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, we've seen too many times where it does come rolling off the top.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was a Viridian Corruptor, actually.
It's not a bad draw.
That's actually just a good draw. Kill the Chalice, turn on my hand? Yes, please.
Yep. I think McVety is contemplating, is there some way to slow roll this? Can I just attack this turn for 3, make Stevens think that he's safe, have him tap out, and then in 1 turn go, blow up your Chalice and kill you?
Sure. I think that's what we're going to see here. He's trying to set it up.
Play it nice and slow.
Yep. Exalted. Oh, maybe not.
If he's not using the Pendelhaven, then
then he's definitely breaking it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Going to get a basic forest. I almost think I'd prefer the one-shot the robot way of doing it. Try to make it seem like Todd's safe. He taps out for a bunch of stuff, and then kapow.
It might be mana is a bottleneck.
There's Viridian Corruptor. See you later, Chalice. Stevens on tap on 5 Infect. Draw a card. That's the last piece of the Tron. I'm curious if he's got any payouts for it.
Yeah, it looks like his hand is Matter Reshaper, Ratchet Bomb. That's one of the things I really enjoy about watching Eldrazi Tron. It often goes Assemble Tron, and I'm spent.
Yeah.
Turn 3, 2 Matter Reshapers.
So here's something that's
interesting. Ahead of schedule, sort of.
Sort of. So with Chalice being killed by the Corruptor, it turned on the map. Now, he drew the Tron piece, so what's the big deal here? Well, Todd Stevens is playing 4 copies of Ghost Quarter, which means he can search for one right now, and that's an answer to the Ink Moth Nexus.
Yep.
That's a pretty big deal. So I think that's what we're going to see him do here.
Also, a small incentive for McVety to try to slow roll it a little bit and do everything in 1 turn is Stevens has 1-mana cards in this deck.
Ooh, we can also get a Tectonic Edge.
Ooh, free.
That is free.
On the house, in a manner of speaking.
I would kill it now while he's tapped out. Don't get too tricky. Good old Tech Edge. I haven't seen this in a while.
R&D's 8th failed attempt to make a balanced strip mine for standard level play. Joining a long list of luminaries. Surely, if we add a mana and make it so you can't wasteland someone on the first turn of the game, it'll be fine, right? Nope.
That was a dismember, by the way, off the top.
Cool.
To kill Thought-Knot Seer, and then Todd died.
Sweet.
Yeah. Because Infect is still a thing that people can do.
Yeah.
I think once upon a time, my memory's a little blurry. You said if you were playing in a modern tournament, you would play Infect.
It's not close. Yeah. Hey, but no, it's different. It's different.